Hello my friends, my name is Tim Johnson. I hope all of you are safe and well during this continued period of uncertainty, in isolation, lockdown, whatever you want to call it. And this video I'm making today is in response to a fair few emails and comments I've had on the channel recently, certainly over the past couple of weeks, from people whose issues with drugs and alcohol and certain mental health conditions have escalated during this period, and they're very frightened and fearful. And I just want to talk today predominantly about facing the fear of withdrawal. It's something I've talked about before on the channel, and before I go on, I just want to say that please, if you're watching this channel for the first time, there are well over 300 videos on it now. So please subscribe, please like the videos, please share them with anyone who you think will help. This channel isn't monetized in any way at all. It gives me a great pleasure if any of these videos help anyone, and that's the purpose of this channel really, to share my experiences over the past few years, and hopefully one or two people or more hopefully will be helped by some of the videos, and that's why I make them. So please help more people see them by subscribing, sharing them, liking them, because we're all in it together, aren't we? And we're all helping each other. So this video today is about facing fear, because withdrawal is a very fearful thing, and some of the people that have been in touch with me recently have sort of steadied along and perhaps been in recovery, but because of this period of isolation, uncertainty, fear, have slipped backwards, and their drug use has started again, and alcohol use has started again and escalated. Or perhaps they were people that have contacted me that are only sort of social drinkers, and their drinking has escalated because of this period, because of boredom, frustration, fear, anxiety, depression, whatever, for whatever reason. And I myself, a good few weeks ago now, if you look back at those videos, had an issue myself for 2 weeks. And it escalates extremely quickly, as those of you who've been in addiction for a while or in recovery for a while know. Once it starts, it escalates. And inevitably, if you want to stop that escalation before it develops into something that is uncontrollable and will lead you once again, if you haven't already, to lose everything and eventually die, without putting too fine a point on it, die a long, slow, painful, lonely death, because that's where it will take you. After you've alienated everyone that you love, after you've hurt everyone that you love, you've hurt yourself and suffered immeasurably. And that's not exaggerating. We all know that's where it leads us to. But inevitably, once you've started using again, whether it be opiates or any other drug or alcohol, there comes a point where your body is dependent on it. Your tolerance levels rise, and eventually you're reaching a point where, if it's really escalated, that you're just using or drinking to stave off the horror of withdrawal, the shakes, the pain, the blackness that comes with it, and all the uncomfortableness, because no one, let's face it, none of us want to inflict discomfort and pain on ourselves. And in essence, by stopping using and drinking, that's what we're doing in our minds, although we know it's what we need to do and we have to do to save our lives and save our relationships, our careers, our everything around us before it crumbles. We don't want to inflict that pain, and that breeds fear and anxiety, and that's what stops us from stopping. It stopped me for many years. I mean, I've been through many withdrawals, and it's a horrific and horrible thing to put your body through. But with correct preparation and correct knowledge, there are videos on this channel which cover opiate withdrawal, alcohol withdrawal, other drug withdrawal, sugar withdrawal. They're all here on the channel and they go into great depth. I'm just going to touch on some bits and pieces today. But the hurdle, the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome is your fear. Your fear of, if you've never been through it before, perhaps your fear of the unknown, perhaps your fear of the horror stories that you've heard about withdrawal, alcohol and drug withdrawal. Perhaps it's your fear of the knowledge you've already got because you've been through it before. You know what to expect. Maybe your use has escalated and you think it's going to be a lot worse than it is. Many reasons, you know. You may even have a very mild withdrawal if you've only been using for a while, but you don't know that. Your brain is telling you that, you know, this is going to be horrific. You know, it's like when you're actually in withdrawal, your brain will do everything in its power. Your brain loves to be comfortable. That's why what I call the 5-second rule applies. You know, your brain, unless you've changed your brain's thinking within 5 seconds, it will talk you into doing the wrong thing. Particularly in withdrawal, you know that a drink, a pill, a drug will take away all this discomfort, take away all this pain immediately, or more or less. And that's the hardest thing about it. That's the warrior in you. That's where the battle you have to face inside your head. You know, you have to fight that all the time. You have to know that your brain wants to be comfortable. Your brain is programmed to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable. It's primal. That's what it's you know, there to do. It's designed to do. So it'll do everything in its power to try and talk you into becoming comfortable. And that fear will also multiply in your brain as well. You know, that little voice inside you will say, you know, why are you doing this to yourself? Why do you want to do this? It's going to be worse than it is. It's going to be horrendous, horrific. And of course it's unpleasant. And of course, you know, for a good week of physical symptoms, and for many weeks after that, you know, psychological symptoms, and still some physical symptoms hanging around perhaps. But knowledge is power, and I say that on all my withdrawal videos. You know, once you know what's happening inside of you during withdrawal and the reasons those things are happening to you, it takes away some of that fear. You know, once you know the reason that, you know, you've got restless leg syndrome and insomnia is because your adrenal glands have been affected by opiates and alcohol and are suddenly going into overdrive. The restless legs because your brain stopped making dopamine because the opiates have been sitting on your receptors, and your brain's forgotten how to make dopamine because the opiates were supplying, you know, all those endorphins, all that dopamine, serotonin was because of the opiates, the alcohol. Your brain chemistry has changed. As soon as you stop taking alcohol and drugs, your body is a miracle. It tries to rebalance, something called homeostasis. So immediately you stop, it begins to heal itself. And all those things, all that healing brings with it pain and certain symptoms. You know, your gut, because of the opiate sitting in your gut, goes into spasm. You get diarrhea, you get vomiting, you get pains in all your joints. You get horrendous hot flushes because your hypothalamus is trying to rebalance because that's been affected by the drugs and the alcohol. But once you have all this knowledge, before you go, you know, before you start, it takes away some of that fear. But ultimately, you know, fear spells face everything and rise, that old cliche. It's not a cliche though, because you have to face it. It's what I would call, you know, the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business is that you've got to go through this to find the light at the other side, the light at the end of the tunnel, a new life, a new beginning. And at this point, you know, when things perhaps in some countries are, yes, they're still horrendous, but they're starting to relax a bit. You don't want to be going down that rabbit hole where everything's escalating and you're back in the midst of pain and addiction and death and destruction and darkness. You want to find your way out of that now. So you need to face everything and rise. You need to face fear. You need to be a warrior. You need to be strong. It's the hardest battle you'll ever face. Of course it is. You know that if you've been through it before. But what lies on the other side of that battle? You know, Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. If you keep going, if you go through and you go through that pain with knowledge, with the right preparation, look at my other videos, you will find true happiness once again and peace of mind once again. You know it's there at the other side of it. So don't let your brain talk you out of it. Good luck, my friends, and stay safe at this time. You know, things, hopefully they'll be back to normal. Will they ever be normal as we know it or had known it? I don't know, and no one knows, do they? But we have to adapt and get stronger, not fall down the rabbit hole again, not go backwards. We need to keep going forwards and getting stronger, adapt and survive. So face your fears today, you know, make the changes. Carpe Diem, seize the day. Much love to you. Stay strong. Please subscribe.